So Doug Ollivant he's running for the 7th District congressional seat in Virginia, which includes Eastern Prince William County, Stafford County, Spotsylvania County,
That's right.
City of Fredericksburg, out to Culpeper, all the way to Greene. Is it Albemarle County? Just a little sliver of
There's a
Albemarle County? If
teeny
I'm
tiny slice. I'm told about 80, 90 households.
Yeah, not much, but
Not
as you
much.
go to Charlottesville, I mean, it's a big district. Doug, thanks for coming on. For those who don't know me, I'm Uriah Kiser. I'm the publisher and founder of Potomac Local News. Thank you for joining us here on the Potomac Local News channel, whether you're watching here on YouTube or Facebook or on our website, potomaclocal.com. We certainly appreciate you watching and your support and your interest in local news and the events and things that shape the communities in which we report on and serve. Doug, no way to candy coat it. You're Republican. Republicans are facing a tough slog uphill based on the election results we saw about a week ago. So, where does the party find itself? You wrote a good piece that you penned, and I linked out to, and the message that you gave out was it will be hard, but not hopeless.
I think that's right, Uriah. I mean, look, there's no way to candy coat what happened last Tuesday. That said, let me try to candy coat it just a little bit. We had a candidate that you clearly did not connect with voters. We had a government shutdown going on that very much isolated or alienated government workers. We had SNAP benefits being, I don't think we ever actually got to them being cut off, but we were pretty close and people were very concerned about it. And we had lots of things bucking against a Republican trend, not to mention, President Trump in the White House, the Virginia curse of the year after a presidential election. So I think we did have a perfect storm for Virginia Republicans. Again, 15 points is 15 points, and that's a stubborn number. But I don't think we'll see that same combination of events as we move into November of 26.
A lot as you're saying, November 26th, obviously that's when the 7th congressional seat is up during the midterms, and a
Correct.
lot can happen between now and November of next year, a year from now. Where do you stand on Trump? I mean, I read an analysis by a good friend of mine, DJ Jordan, who worked for Jason Miyares for a time, has served in politics in Prince William County. He's a political consultant, and he is a Republican, and he flat out said Virginia doesn't like Trump. Republicans in Virginia don't like Trump. So does Trump help or hinder Republicans in Virginia?
I think that's too simple a question. Look, Trump has a unique style all his own. I'll never have it. It would be deeply inauthentic if I tried to mirror it. And I do think that style is off-putting to some people. I mean, he's very New York, and lots of people don't like that kind of New York brashness. But once you get past that, would we be talking about a renaissance in manufacturing the way we are absent Donald Trump? Would we be confronting China the way we are absent Donald Trump? Would we have gotten NATO to be talking about really paying their fair share, 3.5% or perhaps even 5%, absent Donald Trump? I think the answer is no. And that's just the bipartisan issues. We could move into the partisan ones after that. So I think we have to look at Donald Trump and realize that President Trump has done some incredible things for the country. I think that resonates with a lot of Virginia voters. Clearly, there are some closer to the Beltway that feel very differently.
hmm Going back to what you said about Winsome Sears as the candidate and not being able to move the voters to the polls. I mean, what we saw with an analysis from Cardinal News essentially says that voter turnout was way down among Republicans. And so one of the analysis that I watched was from Steve Turley, who is on YouTube, Dr. Steve Turley. And he was looking at the numbers of the people, mostly men, younger age ranges, I think 20 to 40 in that age range, who came out last year in New York City and voted for Trump. and this year voted for Mondami, who is now the mayor-elect of New York City. And he came out, and Turley's analysis was populism is populism, right? It doesn't really care if you are a Republican, if you're a Democrat. A populist will vote for the person who says, "What have you done to change my life? What have you done to upend the system? What have you done to make things different and help me?" And they'll vote for the person who says whatever it takes to convince them that they're going to be different. So are, has the spectrum changed? I mean, are we a populist nation now? Is that why Republicans didn't come out because they didn't see a populist candidate in Winsome Sears the same way they saw a populist candidate in Donald Trump?
I'm not sure I like the term populist. I'm not sure that describes President Trump, but certainly a population isn't going to come to the polls for you if you're not speaking to them, if you're not telling them what you're going to do to them, if you're not describing the world in which they see themselves, saying, some variation on "I feel your pain," and then talking about policies that can be done to make their lives better. And I think that applies whether you're talking about young white men, whether you're talking about various ethnic minorities, any demographic group we're talking about wants to hear from a candidate. What are you going to do? Do you see the world in which I live? And do you have some kind of plausible path to get me to a better place?
In the days after Charlie Kirk was murdered on the Utah College campus, I spent many a night covering different events, from shouting questions at Governor Youngkin about how he would remember this is back in September and the election was just getting going. 45 days of early voting in Virginia. It's like the election seemingly never ends, but it was just getting going. I was shouting questions at him following Kirk's assassination, asking how are you going to keep elections safe and open, and there's a lot of unknowns at that point in time. We also covered many Turning Point USA chapters that formed at local schools, at the public school level and at the collegiate level in Virginia following his assassination. But as it turns out, that vote appears to not have materialized at the polls. So as you campaign and you look at the demographics and the electorate that you need to go knock on doors and do events, and essentially the voters that you need to reach and to turn out to the polls, how important is it for you as a candidate to reach that younger Turning Points generation crowd?
It's absolutely critical. I think we need to be speaking to that generation. I think they feel unseen. I think there is a sense among that younger demographic that the American dream isn't working for them. Now, I don't know how much of that is true, but certainly they feel it. And so a candidate has to be able to go to them and say, look, I see where you are. I hear what you are saying. Here's a pathway. And again, it's not just that Turning Point USA generation, although I talked specifically in the piece you referenced that didn't see them really come out, and that passion that we saw them display at the candlelight vigils across the country doesn't seem to have translated to the ballot box. And as a party, we need to figure out why. What are they not hearing? Why are they not coming? What do we need to do?
The Virginia Republican Party is there's a lot of questions about what the future of that party is. Right now, Democrats in Virginia are mobilized. They're feeling emboldened. They're heading in with a an overwhelming majority in all three areas in Richmond, the governorship, and both chambers of the legislature. The Republicans, they hold an advance, which is an annual conference each year, right after
Right.
the election each year. I'm curious if you'll be going to that, and if you had an opportunity to tell them exactly, give them a piece of your mind about what happened here and what should change, what should happen in the future as we look into in 2026 and beyond, how the Republican Party might reorganize and do better in subsequent elections.
I tentatively plan to go. I'm not sure I'd have a message beyond what I wrote. We need to figure out how to mobilize traditional key Republican demographics, many of which did not show up in this election. I'm not sure what their reasons were. I think we need to do a lot of diagnosis, an autopsy, so to speak, of exactly how that happened and why we didn't speak to these voters and why they weren't motivated. But then we need to move beyond our base voters. We need to talk to the changing demographics of Virginia. It's no secret that there are a lot of new citizens in Virginia, citizens from Central and South America, citizens from Iraq, citizens from Afghanistan, from India. We need to be able to talk to all of those voters, talk to them about our policies, and show them why we're the right choice for them and their families.
Yeah, as well as those who might have been living in Washington, D.C. or Maryland during the pandemic and realized that they could come to Virginia and get, move to the exurbs, if you will, Spotsylvania County and further south and get double the space for half the money. And so and I think that nowhere, based upon the analysis that we did at Potomac Local, nowhere did we see a bigger change than Spotsylvania County, which shifted 20 points to the left since between now and 2021. So clearly, part of that demographic change were people that were moving into the area for all different reasons, as you mentioned, but also as COVID as well, as people kind of get out of the cities and got into the suburbs and the exurbs, and as you say, now you have to go out and reach them and introduce yourselves and talk about
That's right. That's
policy.
right. But let's stay on Spotsylvania because I think that's a really interesting text case. Yes, the three state level candidates did not do well in Spotsylvania. They all lost. But all three Republican county commissioner candidates won by a very, very close race. The other two, not so much. So I think that's a path forward. We need to look at what were the messages that these local candidates who are clearly out there doing the work, knocking on the doors, talking to voters, what did they bring forward that the national ticket did not? I think that's a great place to start our diagnosis.
So as we look ahead to your race and Eugene Vindman there's no secret. His policy is very left of center. He is a proud Democrat. He makes no bones about it. And he has been very critical of Trump and other Republicans here in Virginia, who would criticize him for any reason. He's also been one of the ones that have consistently voted to keep the government closed, where the Republicans wanted to put as they say, clean resolution, an operating resolution to keep the government open until at least January. Where Democrats have opposed that until Senator Tim Kaine and others went across their party lines and broke with their majority. And it looks like they're going to hold a vote tonight. What is today? November 12th on that, as you and I are talking right here, to possibly, after more than 40-day shutdown, reopen the government. So when you talk to voters and they may be repeating back, well, Donald Trump's in charge, he's the president, Republicans have the majority in Washington, it's clearly the Republicans' fault. Does that make it difficult to you to have to kind of come in and get sort of in the weeds, get it and educate the voters on what exactly is happening if those people really aren't truly paying attention?
Right. I think we need to voters always need to pay attention, but that's a hard thing to do. Lots of voters aren't as involved in politics as you and I are. So that's always a heavy lift to get voters to pay attention to exactly what's going on in the race. But I think that Eugene Vindman makes it easy. There's just not much there except, Orange Man bad, as they say. He hates President Trump. He's very, very pro-Ukraine, and it's very hard to find much else there. Doesn't do much constituent service, doesn't understand the southern part of the district. I think it would be very easy to come to the voters and say, look, are you really represented by this guy who's nothing but a shill vote for the Democratic leadership?
Since this district was created in 2021 at the process of redistricting by the courts in 2021, we've seen two Republicans run for this seat and lose twice. The first being Yesli Vega, who is currently on the Prince William Board of County Supervisors, and later Derek Anderson in 2023. 23, I believe, is and he ran for this
for.
seat last 24. Thank you, 24. And I can go back to Vegas campaign, and we could see that she did very well in what you just mentioned, the southern part, the western part of the district, the Culpepers and what have you. But you get into Prince William County. And there are so many. It's a numbers game. It's a population game. So when you get into Prince William County, I mean, that eastern Prince William County, that just one, not even an entire county, just half of a county, really controls this what is a very big district when it comes to the seventh district. So what's your strategy? What's the message that you're going to be taking out to voters across the district to make sure they understand who you are?
Well, you're right that piece of Prince William, south of Old Bridge Road, controls about a third of the population of the district. So it doesn't control it, but boy, does it have significant weight. Again, I think we need to get to the minority voters in that district. The Hispanic voters, the Asian voters, the Arab voters, the Afghan voters. Those are family friendly demographics that should be attracted to the conservative economic message of the Republican Party. It's an indictment of us that we're not talking to them or haven't found a way to talk to them effectively to communicate our message. And I think that's a big part of what my campaign is going to need to do as we move into the next calendar year.
So we saw that the U.S. Supreme Court is not going to take up the gay marriage debate again. They signaled they're not going to do that. And as we look ahead, I was reading a few weeks ago before the election, I was reading an analysis that basically said that as Democrats in Virginia look to redistrict and hold a special referendum in April of 2026, which is really unheard of. We don't really have elections in
Totally
April,
unheard of.
even on the local level, more or less the state level. And part of that was going to be rallying the base of Democrats who would go out and to vote should the Supreme Court take up that gay marriage issue. You would have Democrats sort of because the way Virginia's constitution is, I believe it's still gay marriage is still illegal in Virginia per the Constitution, but the Supreme Court's 2015 ruling made it null and void. And so I think the Democrats, in addition to redistricting, they would also put that gay marriage and do it a constitutional change in April. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen now. So as you pull out your crystal ball, if you will, your prognosticator's hat, and you put it on, what what events, what do you think could be some polarizing events that could bring out conservatives once again in a year that Donald Trump is not on the ballot, and in a year that right now, I mean, for instance, we're in open enrollment period, right? We're seeing health insurance costs balloon, right? We're seeing costs in just about everything go up. And that was not something that Republicans in this cycle really wanted to talk about. I think a lot, if you ask my opinion, and based upon some of the other people I've talked to, people were kind of just waiting and seeing if these tariffs that Trump has been pushing will pay off. And meanwhile, costs are rising, and it is more than just the cost of eggs at the grocery store. I mean, cost of just about everything. Cost of the electricity is going up. So but back to my question, what key events do you think may happen over the course of this next year while you'll be running that may energize voters and you might be able to use in your pitch to voters as you to convince them to come vote for you?
Well, I'm not sure I want to get into a hypothetical about what the Democrats might do to put something on the ballot in April, let alone talk about what the political climate is going to look like in November, which, as you know, is a political eternity. And I'm a candidate, not an analyst. So I'll just say that I really think that we will have a good government coalition that pushes back against the clear cynicism of the Democrats trying to put this redistricting ballot on in April of next year. We had just 5 years ago, the people of Virginia made their opinion clear that they did not want to have partisan redistricting. And of course, this was after admittedly, the Republicans had done it earlier, and there was a consensus that this needs not to be done. Um, I think that we'll have a plurality of Republican and moderate voters who will reject this, and that we'll see the election occur in the districts as they're now drawn. And even
And
assuming the courts let it get to there.
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it could very well be taken up in the courts, there are many who say, yeah, sure, go ahead and do this, but it very well may backfire on you in the courts, and not upheld. And it's important to note for those who are listening to this that Virginia, much like most states, does the redistricting process every 10 years, and in the 2020, in addition to being COVID, which delayed redistricting, we voted, and the Virginia voters decided they wanted an independent commission to determine these magisterial districts, these election districts across the state. And the committee couldn't come to a consensus. They couldn't get it done. So ultimately, it went to court, and a judge decided. And what we got was the 2020 lines that were drawn, 2021 lines that were drawn. So as we wrap up here, for people who are seeing you for the first time, and what should we know about you? Who are you? Why are you running? Give us some background on your candidacy, and then we'll talk about how people can find you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that opportunity. So I'm Doug Ollivant. I'm a husband. I'm a father of seven. I'm a grandfather. I'm a retired Army officer. I taught politics at West Point. I served on the National Security Council at the White House. And I thought I was going to be semi-retired out here on my 50-ish acres on the banks of the Rappahannock in Culpeper County. I woke up one morning and Eugene Vindman was my congressman, and I just found that utterly unacceptable. So I've thrown my hat in the ring to get a candidate with the resume and the experience to both beat Eugene Vindman in the general and then properly represent the people of the 7th District, provide common sense, conservative, national security experience leadership to the 7th in the Congress.
And how can people find your campaign, learn more about you, and should they choose to do so, support your campaign?
Sure. On the web at dougforvirginia.com, DOUGFOR, Virginia.com.
Doug, this has been great. Listen, thank you for coming on and talking with us today. One of the things that we know here in Virginia is elections don't sleep, and we have one every year. And
Every
so,
year.
as we're putting one to bed, we are getting ready for yours in your year. And it's also important to note that you are seeking the Republican nomination for this seat. Current State Senator Tara Durant has also announced for this seat as well, and it's possible you both won't be the last to announce for your intentions to run for this seat, but we will treat you all with fairness and help give you a platform to reach the voters, as we do for Democrats as well here on Potomac Local. We invite everyone to come on who wants to serve. We'll give them a fair shot and let them speak to us and to our audience. And thank you for supporting local journalism where you live. If you want more local journalism, please go to our website, potomaclocal.com. Sign up for our free email newsletter. I pack that thing full of local news between Fredericksburg, Manassas, and Woodbridge every day. Send it out at 4 o'clock, and we hope you find some value in it. If you want more of that, if you want to keep the lights on and not just our newsroom, but the lights shining on issues that are important to you and your neighbors, please consider supporting us and becoming a member by going to potomaclocal.com and purchasing a membership. Your $103 each year goes a long way in ensuring that local independent journalism continues here in Northern Virginia to bring you the stories that mattered most to you and your family. I'm Uriah Kiser. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.